Welcome back to another Silence to Shame podcast. It's your girl L.ife, and I am super excited to be back with y'all. Y'all, I've got a real live MC in the building that's coming to talk about all things hip hop, all things mental health, and all things about her. Welcome to the podcast, Miss Emma Lee M.C. How you doing today? I'm good. Yes, I love it. Awesome. Tell us a little bit about you, Emma Lee M.C. I'm probably going to trip over there all day, but I got you. I know who you are. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into the hip hop world and what do you do in the hip hop world?
Rapping, ciphers, live ciphers, freestyles, singing, all those things.
Mm-hmm.
But I also segued from that into being a media and production person.
Awesome.
Just from the curiosity of wanting to understand what goes on behind the scenes and how all these things, even sports, everything that we watch as far as sports and entertainment,
Mm-hmm.
I was just so curious as to how these things were made. And when we would have these shows, seeing these people at the venues, like we were speaking off record about tech people, and just
Right.
seeing, oh, there's an engineer at the live venue, then there's the engineers in the studios,
Mm-hmm.
then there's producers of the shows, there's directors of the shows, there's all the maintenance people.
So many pieces to the pie, right?
Sound,
Right.
All the pieces to the pie. And I was just, I'm such a, how does that work person? So I segued into editing and video editing, and then I somehow wound up with cameras in my hands and
the rest is history.
You know, I mean, bless all these people that just trust me with stuff, because
I love it.
Thrown in the fire, and was filming for Rap Is Out of Control at Sirius XM for a while, and I was producing a public access television show called Boom Bat TV, which was on 3 networks here in New York, and it was like hip hop culture and documenting and preserving hip hop and independent artists, but also established, and being very intergenerational, and men and women, just covering the whole hip hop community. Just, you know, a nice positive take, but just with hot music videos and interviews interwoven. So, and then I was interning as interning, quote unquote, because I never had
a real internship.
I never had like a real setup like that, you know. Bless the people who do. It never happened for me like that. So I wound up becoming a quote unquote intern at several recording studios as well, and learning actual audio engineering. So yeah, behind the scenes, I'm also like techie and doing stuff, and I love that. It stimulates both sides of my brain, and I love that.
Perfect. You mentioned a few things: the hip hop culture, move the crowd. I'm of age, a little older than most would think, but we see hip hop as something different than the new generation sees hip hop. I think hip hop for us was a movement, and it was an opportunity to utilize our platform to speak on larger topics, or to bring information and education to our communities. How are you using your platform to inform and educate individuals around mental health and being mental health advocates? And how can we use the hip hop culture to destigmatize mental health and help bring more highlights and light to the actual topic, so that we don't see, and so that we can normalize the conversation?
Absolutely. That's such a great set of points, multiple points you just set forth in that question, because first of all, hip hop is so engaging as an energy. It's so pervasive. It penetrates
Right.
everything. It's
Right.
not even 50. We just, depending on who you talk to,
Yeah, we
just
just hit
turned
50,
50.
right?
Yeah. There's that conversation. But yeah, so let's say we all agree that we just turned 50, quote unquote. And in 50 years, this culture and community and energy has completely changed the world.
It
Like it
has.
completely changed the world. And I think people take for granted how all the other music genres, and there's a lot of music genres, they're great and they're wonderful and they all have their own histories and potencies, but nothing in the history of humans
Has
has
impacted.
affected the world
Yeah,
like hip hop. And
that's
I feel
true.
like people take that for granted, especially if you take a look at, and I talk about this a little bit in my book, if you take a look at how hip hop is interwoven in every aspect
Every
of
aspect.
life and society, not just the entertainment, but
Mm-mm.
in business, in
In
communications,
fashion.
in fashion, and even in, if you watch whatever you watch, YouTube, TV, it doesn't matter. If you actually pay attention to the language that's being used, not just by regular people and people in the culture, but the language that's being used by brands,
To
by
promote it.
corporations,
Yes, the
by
marketing people.
companies, by
Yes.
institutions, by
Yes.
award shows, by promotional ads.
Mm-hmm.
They're using hip hop language and things that are inherent and organic to us as a people.
Right.
And you can, and I use that broadly because whoever the people who
Right.
are hip hop
Right.
is people who are hip hop. It's not just one type of person.
Mm-mm.
So if you were to somehow add up or put a tag on everything that was hip hop in the world, I would say we got a lot of money
Yeah.
on the
Out on the
table
table, right? Right.
that ain't in the account, and we need a little hip hop
We would
IRS
like a little
to do some
residual
auditing
income.
around
We,
here.
we want some royalties. We would like a
You know
little
what I'm
royalty.
saying?
Yeah, like
Because if
we're the creators. Like you cannot utilize. And I know you being a creator understand or don't understand how individuals can take your talent and your pieces and not bring acknowledgement to the individual who actually created the piece. So that we've got to pay homage to those who actually created and made the pathways for us to do that. But speaking on mental health, how is the hip hop culture able to influence destigmatizing mental health and normalizing the conversation?
Yeah, it's super important because the like for instance, my one of the biggest topics in my book is about suicide prevention. Sorry for the honks. I guess that was
That was a honk
confirmation.
for yeah.
Yes, girl. Yes,
Honk
speak
for
on
the
it.
prevention.
Get to
I
it.
like it.
Get to it. Talk about it. What else? That's my hype man. Yeah, so I get very specifically into suicide prevention in my book, and I am a suicide attempt survivor. For those who are not aware, there's also something called suicide loss survivor, and
Right.
that's like the umbrella of what suicide survivor can mean.
Mm-hmm.
And it obviously took a lot for, well, maybe it's not obvious to some people, but it took a lot for me to like process that on my own and then distill that into a book.
Yeah.
And then a conversation that could be had with the reader, or to make it coherent outside my brain. But then it was like, this is scary for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is taboo for a lot of people. A lot of people were raised in families or religions or
All
spiritual
cultures.
contexts,
Yeah.
cultures where this is something that is not even talked about, or it's blasphemous,
Right.
or is considered something very weak and
Uh-huh.
very inhuman and anti-God.
Right.
So it was very important for me to come up with an approach to make this approachable. And hip hop was super, super, it was just like a perfect coming together. And
Yeah.
that's why I'm so excited, because I'm like, how perfect is it? Like, come on, God is real. Because how perfect is it that this story would come through my journeying with this powerful culture? And that it's unfortunate that we haven't had more of these conversations, but fortunately we're starting to,
and we're here,
like
right?
silence the shame exists, and I'm able to meet more people through y'all. And even in doing the research of how to connect these dots, I'm finding like footage of like Lil Wayne in interviews talking
Many people
about,
speak on it. Yeah.
yeah, talking about it.
Yep.
Tamar Braxton speaking about it. I seen footage of Marvin Gaye talking about
It's
it like
been
back in the
for
day.
days. Yeah, for decades. It's been
Um,
that way. Yeah.
for decades. So and but it's like so interesting how things can get buried because of what's popular and what everybody, quote unquote, everybody wants us to pay attention to,
Right.
and what the trend is, and how we should be feeling about ourselves and seeing each other, when it's like most of us would associate Marvin Gaye, like the soul singer, for y'all who may not know, the impeccably historic, iconic Marvin Gaye, the soul singer.
Struggled.
Uh, Most people associate him with sexual
And
healing
love.
and being a ladies' man
Uh-huh.
and singing
Uh-huh.
love songs. And he's in this interview talking about how he really does not want to sing about that.
Right.
He wants to sing about what's going on
Yeah.
and makes you
The
want to
world
holler,
and
and
the
the
world's
human
yeah.
condition and
Mm-hmm.
being a man and being a black man and being human. And he's like, if I, but this is what they want to hear from me. And if I got to sing about sex to get them to listen to what's going on, I'll do
I'll do
that.
that part.
I'm
Yeah.
actually like a really sensitive person. And when he starts talking about being a sensitive person, that really touched me too, because we don't get to hear and see a lot of
Men.
us and black men,
Yeah.
especially black men who resonate as masculine, like
Mm-hmm.
traditionally
Mm-hmm.
masculine. We don't get to hear from them about their insecurities and where they may be sensitive, or where they may have been brokenhearted and never healed from that,
Yeah.
and how it's changed their life. And maybe where depression and anxiety stemmed off of that. And to connect those dots with those words. So I was seeing all this in the creation of this book, and I realized, like, wow, hip hop gets used for everything else under the sun.
Except.
So if it can destroy, it can create.
That's right.
And
That's
that's
right.
what we're here for.
And I'm glad you brought that point, because we always expect men to be masculine and we always want them to be a man, but nobody has built that man. Like, you got to build a man to be a man. You've got to give them the tools. You got to help them understand. And many men utilize music as a art of therapy. Many people utilize music as and movement as a form of physical physical health. Tell me, how do you prioritize your self-care? We'll get into your book, because I want you to introduce your book. But since you're suicide attempt survivor, and knowing the things that you've gone through in the different cultures that you've been brought up in, tell me how you prioritize your self-care and your mental wellness at this point, knowing the things that you've gone through and seeing the things that you've seen, and being in, because the hip-hop culture in the music world is very stressful. Like, that's a very stressful environment. So tell me how. I know we love all the music that comes from it, but people don't understand what all it takes to get. They don't know everything.
Oh my goodness.
So tell me how you prioritize your self-care with all of that on your back, right? With your camera in your hand and your vision in your face, like all the people in play. How do you still take care of Emma Lee?
Yes. Well, everybody needs to know that it is an ongoing learning experience.
Yes.
It is a fluid tool. I call it the toolbox. There's like preventive things that you do to make sure certain things you kill them before they even get a chance to kill you. And then there's coping things that you do, because triggers happen and stress does come.
Life happens.
And life happens.
Right.
And sometimes you just gotta address it there. So the biggest thing I had to recognize first was that when you first wake up, that is a very precious moment.
Sacred time.
It's a very sacred time.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been the type of person to like just roll out of bed and hop on Instagram. I've never been that type of person. And there's nothing wrong with that, quote unquote, that type of person. What I'm saying is, when you first come out of sleep, and even before like you actually open your eyes and get out of the bed, when you're actually making that transition from dream state, sleep state, into like ascension back into your waking body, you are fresh. You have been reset. You have been a lot of things have been reordered for you. It's like almost like a blank slate has occurred.
Right.
And if you begin your fresh clean slate day, jumping out of bed, running to social media, answering emails, and even
Instantly.
not just for social media, and it's not even a generational thing, because there's people, me included, who will jump into work
Right.
and start answering emails,
Right.
or even innocently, you have you have an inspiration that just pop into your brain,
And
and
you
you want
instantly start
to
writing it out. You want to get it
you
out your
start,
head. Yeah.
yeah, you start Googling that stream of consciousness. You got 17 tabs open.
Yes. Even
You trying to
before
jot it down. You
before you
trying to
brush your
get it.
teeth, before you even
You
go in the
haven't even
bathroom.
brushed your teeth. Then if you live with people, somebody's coming, somebody's
Asking you,
knocking,
yeah.
somebody needs this, needs that, mommy this, mommy that. I
Right.
don't. I'm just empathic
Well,
like
I
that.
do. So I know. I know what you mean.
Oh, so you already know. You
Yes.
already know. Your parents forget it. It's a life thing for y'all.
Right.
So you haven't even taken a proper breath into your
That
full
is so
lungs
true.
and rib cage yet, and you're already off on a chase energy. And guess
Mm-hmm.
what? Your entire day is now set
Chasing.
from that chase energy.
Yep.
And you can't even get that back. It will only just ebb and flow from there. But you won't get back that precious, sacred moment that you had to start the day and take care of yourself
Yeah.
and make sure your sanity and self was right before you allow the world in. So the biggest thing that I learned was to have a wake up routine. And it doesn't matter, like it does matter, but it doesn't matter like exactly when it takes place,
Right.
because even some people have nocturnal schedules. I've been like that. Or some days things just change, your schedule changes, whatever, or maybe you're doing something and you wind up in an airport
Mm-hmm.
really crazy early in
Mm-hmm.
the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So now your wake up routine is like happening at 2 or 3 a.m. But what's important is that you just decide for yourself, and this is from knowing whatever it is that you need, that okay, for me, I need a couple minutes to, ideally, it doesn't always
Relax
happen like
yourself.
that.
Yeah.
This is why I'm saying it's an ongoing learning thing. But ideally, I need a couple minutes to just stretch out my wrists and my ankles and just get my joints like lubricated a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I say a prayer, that's me, and just speak. I have a word of the day, a mantra of the day, or a phrase of the day that
Okay.
like, this is what I want to feel today.
That's pretty
Um,
good.
I
Set
have
set your
I'm
tone.
yeah, it sets my tone.
Yeah.
I'm a very visual and vivid person. I dream almost every night. So
Wow.
I have a dream journal. And like I said, sometimes if you know you don't have the time, you can't like get deep into the weeds with it, I pull out my notebook and I just
You just
write
jot it
down
down.
stuff that happened in the dream that was weird or stuck
Uh-huh.
out to me, something that may have popped into my head, something that an idea or anything. I just jot that down real quick, and now I have a page full of juicy inspiration to move
I
throughout the day
love
with. That
that.
come back later. I need at least 10 minutes, at least 10 minutes. I can do it in 5,
But
but I
right,
need at
right.
least 10 minutes to get my stretch on. And I need a
And
yoga
that's
or
important. That's important. That mobility and getting that movement in and resetting yourself once you've come out of that state to start your day off. People don't realize how much that sacred time really sets the tone, like you said, for the rest of the day or the week sometimes. Just that one
yes.
time you did not listen to yourself, right? So tell us, Emily, like a pivotal time in your career where your experience with mental health influenced your music.
Mm, yes.
Or your film, not necessarily music, your creative
Right, the other
product,
project.
your product, right?
Yeah, there was definitely a couple. For the interest of time, it stuck out into my head the first time that I was like a featured artist
Okay.
by myself. Because when I was 12 years old, I joined a performing arts group named Impact Repertory Theater, and they're based in Harlem. They're actually under the umbrella of the oldest, let me get it right, the oldest nonprofit Black theater company in New York, like in
Wow.
history.
Wow.
And they had this youth program, and it was founded by Black arts movement activists and Black Panthers.
Okay.
So it was performing arts and leadership training and self-development all together.
Awesome.
But so that's why I was doing, like, we did at least 50 shows a year. So you're doing a show a week. I have a 7-hour rehearsal every week. creative meetings during the week, and it's also run by the youth. So we have positions and we have
Mm-hmm.
to be like ambassadors, the whole thing. So I was doing that from 12 to like 23.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, it was my entire life. And the group got nominated for an Oscar and a Grammy because we did a song that ended up in a Warner Brothers movie,
Okay.
and it got nominated. So this was my entire life, and I was in a group. I was in a couple of gospel choirs. I was in a lot of groups. So it took actually a while before I was a solo artist. And
Mm-hmm.
even the music and stuff I'm doing now is still like, that's pandemic fresh. Like it just
Yeah,
happened like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
But at a certain point in the midst of all that, one of the people in the group started a spoken word. It's called the Harlem Bomb Shelter. They started like a spoken word brand, and they had me as a feature. And they gave me like a 20-minute set or whatever. And I had never had like quote
A
unquote that
set.
much
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
And to go from being on stage with like
A
30,
group of
40
people.
people
Mm-hmm.
to
Just
just me,
you.
it's Beyonce time. Like what?
Am I
Oh
ready?
my,
Am I ready? I prayed for this, but am
so
I prepared for
I
this,
prayed for
right? I
this.
prayed for
Am
this.
I
I
ready?
prayed.
So I was like, man, but then it was just like, it wasn't even anxious for me. It was more so like, oh my God, I can do whatever I want
Yeah,
for 20 minutes.
yeah. This is
But
my space.
and I had one song that I had created at the time, and it was called Dark Story.
Hmm.
It was like taking the metaphor of the Wizard of Oz,
Okay.
but applying it to mental health and like being in a
Wow.
dark place and like navigating
Those
depression
areas.
and suicidal things, like I was Dorothy moving through the Wizard of
I
Oz and I just
love
wanted to go
that.
home.
I
Thank
love
you.
that.
Yeah, so it was like the producer, Haas, who was also from the program, he had like lightning and rain happening through the tracks. It was like a real,
It's like
bar violent.
what you really was feeling inside. Like how it's
It was
really
cinematic.
yeah.
It was therapeutic. It was everything, and it was it wasn't released. It was just the first song that I had recorded, and it was the only song I had for that set. So
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh man, so that's 5 minutes. Oh, what's
What do
gonna
I do for
happen?
the 15, right?
Yeah.
Right?
So I pretty much filled the rest of the set in with poems and
Okay.
spoken word, and then like a dance, an interpreter. It wasn't that it was dance, but like I made a dance to actually Wu-Tang Tears, for those of y'all
Hmm.
who are Wu-Tang
Yeah, I
fans, and that's
know.
like a very melancholy. If y'all hear that track, that song might
So
make you cry.
so different from Wu Tang. And they'll just to
Yeah,
hear that right,
it's
right,
that other
right,
side.
right. It's the
It's
other
that other
side.
side. Yeah.
Yeah.
So long story short, so I have this set, and I have the song which is way at the end. I have all the pieces. I have these music interstitials. I have this dance sequence, and then I even got a couple of my like my street friends to pose as like security policemen
Oh
and to
wow.
come arrest me during the
Mm-hmm.
set, like come out the audience. So
Oh.
people are screaming like, "Oh my God." So this whole thing. But I say all that to say that, so without even realizing what I was doing, I made a one-woman show.
Mm-hmm. And not
With
realizing what you were doing, you took yourself through therapy.
and not realizing what I was doing, I took myself through therapy. You said it perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
And it opened my eyes to how much I could do.
Right.
My talents and abilities is just one thing, but how much I could do with my story and with this experience that so many people had,
Have, yeah.
and that you could touch different emotions. Like the healing doesn't
Yes.
always have to be about you crying on the floor.
No.
It could also be you laughing. It could also be you
Dancing and
being
twirling
pleasantly
around the stage.
surprised.
Yes, letting
It could
go
be
of
you
it.
dancing and twirling around on a stage. It could be
Journaling and writing a song. So people think writing songs or doing that is just right. I'm writing a rhyme or rap. You're really journaling. You're really journaling your feelings
it's
out
you're channeling.
through rhyme and
Yes.
song, but it's still you're getting those feelings that have been compiled inside of you out. You keep mentioning this book and you keep mentioning my book. And I hear it's
Oh, I'm
called
that girl now.
Y'all, yeah, you that girl. You
I think
back
I
on
got my,
stage. You
it's
back on
like an
stage.
engagement
You
ring.
back on stage, right? Yes. All you, baby. This is you walking down the aisle with you and your book. And it's called Y'all Not Gonna Make Me Lose My Mind. Now, I know a song.
Up in here.
I came out to a song. When I pledged, that was our song that we came out
Get out
to.
of
No
here.
way.
What did you
Like
pledge?
Delta Sigma Theta Sorority
You
Incorporated.
heard
Yes, indeed.
Oh my God, I love Deltas.
We love you
Yes.
too, but we're gonna stay, we're gonna stay, we're gonna stay.
Sure you guys.
Tell us it's notes from a hip hop unicorn and suicide survivor and how people can get connected to it. So tell us, you told us about you are a suicide attempt survivor. You
Yes.
told us about the pathways and how music and things have allowed you to tap into your inner self to be able to get through mental health struggles you're going. But now you have a book. Tell us a little bit about that book and why you wrote the book, what inspired you to write the book, and what that book can do to others if they were to get a hold of it.
Sure. I'm gonna do my best to not cry right now because just
Okay.
hearing you say that is so surreal. Oh man, I'm so grateful. So y'all not gonna make me lose my mind. What
Right.
we not finna
That's not
do.
what we not today.
What we not
Not
today.
today. Not
Uh-uh.
today, tomorrow, or
I
to
refuse.
never.
Rebuke gig.
Yes, indeed.
Resign, reclaim my time. Yeah, I'm not gonna make me lose my mind. Notes from a Hip Hop Unicorn and Suicide Survivor is a creative nonfiction book. It is detailing my journey from actually wanting to no longer be alive and participate in society and going through with the suicide and actually recalling the day of, the night of, the day
Yeah.
before, the day after. But then
Mm-hmm.
also, so what had happened was, as y'all could hear, I didn't die.
Hello.
Um,
Hello.
I was actually brought back. And what happened is I ended up being unconscious in the middle of my first apartment. I was 19 when this all happened.
Okay.
I was out. I was actually gone for at least 24 hours. And then I was brought back
Wow.
and alive and faced with a
The,
whole new set of
mm-hmm.
things to
Mm-hmm.
contend with. And unfortunately, I was internally injured because of the attempt. Um, and I won't give a detail away about what happened between what happened, but I also ended up in a psychiatric ward
Okay.
for this. The plot twist is I didn't check myself in. So that was unexpected. And then I couldn't check myself
You
out.
couldn't. Mm-mm.
So it was also like a form of involuntary prison
Mm-hmm.
in the
Mm-hmm.
psychiatric ward. And I don't know personally anybody who's ever been there. So I didn't have
Any
any
insights?
reference of
Yeah.
like what that would be like.
That I'll be
So
all
now
right in
here
the
I
end.
am.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, here I am, 19.
Hmm.
You're placed in the adult ward
You're
because you're
19.
19.
Yep.
And I'm the youngest person there. And it's not the spot. It's not the spot. And so on top of how am I gonna get out of here, I also like what's gonna happen with my life?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Once I leave here. Right.
yeah, once I leave here. And thankfully by that time I realized that I actually do want to live. I actually do see how I can create a life that I really want to live and can actually have joy and happiness and peace in it. And
Thank
that in
you.
itself was just a beautiful, beautiful place to get to. But
Right.
unfortunately, I'm in that place while I'm also in this super ugly, dark
Space. Mm-hmm.
medical place.
Mm-hmm.
And then getting out, and again, what you're gonna do now?
Mm-hmm.
How you
Because
gonna go
everybody now
forward?
sees you. as who you were trying to hide to be. Like you were trying to hide. That person was hid, then you attempted, and then now you're brought back to life. So now everybody sees me for who I saw myself is. Is that a struggle coming back into your environment and trying to get support, or did you get more support coming back into your environment because of your attempt?
Yeah, I had a bit of a unique situation because um I'm a very private person.
Mm-hmm.
So people for the most part never really know what's going on with me in general.
Okay.
But people were aware that I was in the hospital, and a few inside people knew like what happened and why. But I think also because I was in that performance group,
Mm-hmm.
and it's an Oscar and Grammy nominated group. We do 50 to 100 shows a year. I'm out in the community. People know me not even by my name, but by the group's
By your
name.
same, right,
You
right.
know, if I happen to be in a liquor store, somebody might be like, "Hey, ain't
Yeah,
you?" Like
right.
just like that. You know what I'm saying? So I think the insiders who knew maybe didn't want to say,
Yeah,
and this is respectful to them. I don't know everything that was going on, but I think besides honoring my privacy, I think also people didn't want to put out there that it
that something
happened
was
because
wrong.
it's so
Yeah,
taboo,
yeah.
especially in the community. Like
And
people
that's
just
how it is.
it under the rug.
Yeah,
Yeah. So that was kind of a like a blessing in disguise in a way, because most people didn't even know. And even like some people came to see me. I had to go back to the emergency room while I was at the psych ward because of the internal injuries. And
hmm
while I was there, a couple people did come to visit me.
but they
And
didn't know.
I was so anxious about like, oh my God, what are they
They're
gonna
gonna
say?
find out.
And most of them had no clue.
They
And it
still
was
only
very
thought you were in
clear
there for an internal
for
medical
some
reason. Yeah.
random, yeah. So I'm over here sweating like, how are we going to get into this conversation, because I know they're going to ask me like, oh my God, what
And
happened?
nobody
And I'm
asked you.
gonna have to weave. A lot of them didn't ask, and then if they did, I just kind of weaved around it, because I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, I don't think this is the time or the place to unveil this, because I'm not even sure what happened.
Right.
um
I've got to
so
process this.
yeah. And then I didn't, a lot of people also understand the experience of not being insured, not having health insurance.
Oh
Um
yes.
I was in
Yes.
when sorry, I'm trying to say that there was a youth program here in New York that provided free healthcare for
Okay.
young people up until maybe they were 24. It was a wonderful
Oh
program. I think
wow.
it still exists on the Upper East Side through Mount Sinai. And we were getting free checkups, eye exams, OBGYN, birth control,
The whole
contraception,
shebang. Yeah.
anything you needed, even HIV counseling. Like it was awesome. And then at a certain point, like I was just cut off, like
Mm.
completely cut because of the age thing. So you're no longer eligible for those services, and you don't have insurance. You don't have the money to
To
purchase
pay
your
for
own
those
insurance.
things. Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
with whatever Obamacare, it's still
It's
like
not enough.
most people aren't
Yeah.
accepting the
Mm-hmm.
insurance if you did have any. So a support, and then I'm an only child. Most of my family is spread out around the world. I have friends, but also, like I said, I'm a very private person. So
Yeah.
I don't have a regular like chat group I'm in, whatever. I'm not
Right.
all in social media. Like I don't have like a therapeutic thing in social media
So it
like
was
that
all
at the
on you.
time, especially. So support question mark, like that's how it was. Like
Mm-hmm.
it was a very singular experience, and I'm very grateful that for the people who were there and for the resources that were available. And just like, shout out to myself, because I don't
Shout
know how
out.
I could do that,
You did
to
it.
be honest. I
You had a
don't
purpose.
know.
You had a purpose, and you're here to shine that purpose to the world. You have
Yeah.
touched on so many points today, Emily, and I know so many young aspiring artists are looking at you and saying, "I am right where she is," or "I feel like
Mm,
I'm going down that path." What advice do you give for young aspiring? Not even just artists, creators, because you're
mhm.
more than an artist. You're a creator and an
Thank you.
innovator. So, what would you give just to su- support them in their mental health pathways tell them how important self-care is, and tell them how losing yourself in your arena is very easy. So just give them some tips of how to stay within themselves, mentally healthy, and making sure that they are still staying true to their creative sides.
Yes, absolutely. So you hit the nail on the head with self-care. We just have to put that point blank in the period. Like the first thing is self-care. And please don't underestimate how knowing and understanding yourself is a very integral part of your self-care. Everything that everybody else is doing may not be what's
For
right
you.
or good for you.
Mm-hmm.
How somebody else does their wake-up routine, what products they use, what vitamins they're on, how much water they drink, what type of things they drink,
It's
their
all on them.
diet, whether they're vegan or not.
Yep.
All of that is fine for them. But what about you? How is your quality of life making you the best you can be? And you know
Right.
the truth by how it feels. So first of all, self-care also starts with taking time in silence, or your binaural beats or your subliminals, whatever you need. Take time to sit with yourself and
Mm-hmm.
go through some things and get that clear. Second, as far as being a creative, whether you want to be a professional or a professional, or like being independent and just aspire to, like, go into the contracts you want, or
Right.
just have clients, be an entrepreneur, however you want to go about it, always do your own homework.
Thank
Do
you.
not take people's words for it. Do not take people's
Great
reputations for
point.
it. Always do your own research. And I have a saying, I always know enough to be dangerous.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
say that out loud,
Yeah.
but now y'all know that's one of my things. I always know enough to be dangerous. See, just by knowing the jargon of what an engineer and a producer needs to create a song, I
Nobody
can
can.
communicate with them
Yep.
about what it is I
I
need from
need.
them. And now we can have a relationship and nurture a project
Mm-hmm.
or an ideal or goal, just because I knew
I love
about
that.
what it is they know.
I love that.
And apply that to everything, to every single thing. When you go to the doctor, if when you have a business meeting, when you get
Mm-hmm.
a contract,
And you're
read that
when you're
contract.
buying a car, when you're buying a
When you're
house, no,
buying, and yes,
know it.
contracts are everywhere.
Yes.
Contract law is very, very important. It low-key runs the world, for those of you who don't know. Home management, like she said, cars, insurance,
Mm-hmm.
travel,
Know it.
accidents,
Just know it. Just
your
go.
wills, your testaments, your LLCs, even the we all laugh about the terms and conditions thing now. Yeah, I read that, accept, skip, and we just signed our life away. We don't know
You don't know
we
what
don't know
terms
these
and
things.
conditions you literally just signed off on. Then you wonder
And
why
they be
your
asking
credit
us
is
all
wrong.
types of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we do cookies on this. What you mean you do cookies? All
Yeah.
right, whatever. Y'all can have cookies. Can I have some? All
Right.
right.
Why y'all
Um,
getting all the cookies?
So it's a bunch of stuff that gets sneaked into the paperwork. So, especially when it's relevant to your everyday quality of life, read and take the time to read. And if they're not giving you the time, that's a red flag.
Yeah.
And it's okay to be like, hey, I'm gonna take some time to go over this, and on your own, have a dictionary on one side, and maybe call a pro bono lawyer on the
Somewhere or
other.
another. Yeah.
Go do that. And if anything just sounds funny or just feels funny, go with that. Maybe that's my last tip, is like, intuition is a beautiful gift
I
that
love that.
many of us have lost touch with, not for our own faults too, but because, like, yeah, we were in a global pandemic, like 5G, 7G, all types of internet wires and things going up is crazy. We just
Mm-hmm.
had a slight, like, all these,
Earthquake or something, and the weather.
yeah, we
Yeah,
just
like.
had natural things going on, all types of lawsuits in the media.
Oh
There's a
yeah.
lot of distractions. There's a lot of triggers. Even there's a lot of stuff that, like, I am compassionate for, but I can't tap in with because it's too much on my mental health.
Yeah. That's a
I
great
can't
point.
watch footage of
That's a great
people
point.
going through certain things anymore. If I hear about it, I may say a prayer or whatever I do, or put money here or there, but I'm not watching certain footage. I'm not tapping into
Because
certain
you hold
videos,
on to it.
talking about certain things.
It triggers
When
you and you
people get
hold on
into,
to it. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
even gossip. I'm not, I personally am not into gossip entertainment. I'm just not. There's an energy about gossip. And also, I grew up around Black Panthers, and there's a whole history about how gossip was used to destroy
Yes. The
the
inner
Black
Black
power
platform. Yep.
organizations. So that was kind of instilled in us. But I know some people just watch it because it helps them desensitize or whatever. Like I have an auntie, I love my auntie. Hi, Auntie Louie. She watches like the ID channel, like Snapped and
Yeah,
like
yeah.
forensic files and people's boyfriends murdering them. Like that's her wind down stuff. So to each their own. But I just always
Everybody
tell
has it.
people like you got to be mindful of all that you consume because everything that you take in is being processed through your body and
And
you're
it's gonna
like
come out some
it's not
way.
just the whole where attention goes energy flows thing. It's that you're actually voting every time you give attention to something or dedicate your body or your mind or your energy to something. It's kind of like your subconscious, you're telling your subconscious that you're voting for that thing.
Yeah.
This is what I
Yeah,
like,
that's
this is
good.
what I'm attentive to, this is what I want you to keep showing me, and it'll happen.
That's good.
So
That's a good piece to give these young people that are listening to this podcast. They think
mm,
just watching these reality shows or just listening to this music is just my, my way of thing, but they don't realize what it's really doing. This has been an amazing conversation. I think we could go
yes.
on for days just having a conversation
Mhm.
about how the hip hop culture influences everything and how it influences us inside. Emma Lee the MC, tell the people how to reach you, how to get your book, how to connect with you on things that you're doing. Let us know where to find you.
Yes, very simply. And thank you for being so masterful about managing our time and our conversation here. You rock.
Thank you.
So yes, they can tap in, simply type in Emily M.C. into Google and a bunch of stuff comes up. Make sure you put the dots in MC because if not, there's a Emily who's a country singer. She might
Okay.
pop up.
Okay.
Just put M.C. That's how you know. But also the website for the book and everything is my government name, emiliaottoo.com. EMILIAOTTOO.com.
Perfect.
And you'll see the book there. The pre-order links are up because pre-orders are live.
Yay.
It releases May 7th, and we know that we are having the annual May 5th Silence to Shame Day.
Okay.
So it's kind of perfect timing that
Yes,
we're
it
all
is.
making this connection.
So May is Children's Mental
Yes.
Health Awareness Month. So you're dropping at the perfect time for individuals to
Oh,
be able to support their mental health as we support it across the nation and world. So thank you again, Emily. Emma Lee, the MC, with the periods, not without.
career.
Again, thank you so much for your time and opportunity. We would like to thank you all for tuning in to the Silence of Shame podcast. We really appreciate your time, for really, really tuning in to get some really good tools and tips from individuals who are walking this walk already. We ask that you continue to like, comment, and share, and don't forget to subscribe. But remember to donate by texting silence to 707070. And remember, take time, free your feels. It will save a life and definitely silence the shame. Until next time, peace.